Welcome back to the Extra Sports Show. I'm your host, Ricky G. Stanley. Today's going to be a good one. I got the chance to watch the Hall of Fame induction last week. I went back and watched some of the videos. They were heart touching, and some of our favorite players got to get all of their roses while they were alive, most of them. Also, they got the highest praise, which they very much deserve. Some of my personal favorites are Peyton Manning. You got Charles Woodson, John Lynch, and you cannot forget about, the great Calvin Johnson. However, that is the class of 2021. But the class of 2020 is what I want to talk about today. Like I said, we all know that Peyton and John and Charles, Calvin Johnson are all great. But last year with COVID, they really couldn't do the induction ceremony like they wanted to. So the first person I want to talk about in the 2020 is Edgerrin James. Everybody knows I'm a Miami Hurricanes fan. Edgerrin James came to the University of Miami. He had a good running style, strong running style, but everybody knows he did not look like the traditional athlete. He had gold teeth and he had dreads. Also, you had Ed Reed. They had the braids. They had a different swagger about them. They were from Miami and they were a little different, but they were hard playing guys. They weren't a traditional athlete. That's what I loved about them. So, like I say, he played great. He had a great career. He's known for the saying that is famous now: I went from having gold teeth to a gold jacket. Well deserved, my friend. However, Tony Dungy was on NFL Access one day, if I'm not mistaken, and he was telling a story about Edgerrin James, and I'm going to read it off to you. He stated that it was a crack house in Edgerrin's old neighborhood. Edgerrin was very upset, and the idea of people selling drugs in that house, by the way he used to stay at, upset him. So what he did was he took some of his own money, bought the house, turned it into a place where kids were safe and could play off from where they lived at and feel safe. So he called it the Fun House. He said he's known as an athlete, but doing research and actually getting to know him more of his life disclosed the gratitude that he had towards his hometown, as well as being a good role model. Thank you, Edgerrin James, because I only knew you as an athlete, but reading about stories like this shows the other side that we never get to see. Past the gold teeth, past the dreads, get to see the heart. However, the next person, this is going to be the biggest part of this segment, is because Isaac Bruce was inducted into the Hall of Fame. It was well due, but this is when I feel like politics and the NFL get in the way, and it makes the Hall of Fame a joke. There's no reason why, in my opinion, that Isaac Bruce had to wait until 2020 to get inducted into the Hall of Fame. So let's roll that beautiful bean footage back. Isaac Bruce retired in 2009. Yeah, 2009, right? So in that time, in 2009, do you know who the number 2 all-time receiving yards leader was? Isaac Bruce. Only person that was above him at the time, Jerry Rice. Let's let that sink in. Ain't nobody catching Jerry Rice. Larry Fitzgerald tried. He ain't gonna catch him either. So at that moment, he had 15,208 yards. That's a whole lot of yards. He had 91 touchdowns in an era where they could knock the chocolate out of you. I mean, laying wood on people. He wasn't the biggest, the most physical guy, but he could play. He can play that position, play it very well. But now we're going to get into the part where I have a problem with this. Terrell Owens, right? Everybody know he's number 2 in certain categories, and him and Randy Moss interchange in certain categories. T.O. may have him in touchdowns, and Randy may have him in yards. I think it's interchangeable. I think I might have said that wrong, but you get what I'm saying. So in 2010, Terrell Owens retires. 2012, Randy Moss retires. So they retired after he did. Cool. I'm not stating he is better or physically gifted than these two individuals. However, outside of touchdowns, his yards were right there with them. Right there with them. So Randy Moss has less than 100 yards more than Sir Isaac Bruce. He has less than 100 yards more than him total. Okay, that's number one. So now as for touchdowns, hey, Randy Moss a bad man. Ain't won't nobody really seeing what Randy could do in the red zone. I ain't even gonna say the red zone because sometimes he was taking it to the house from a long distance. So my question is the Hall of Fame a joke? Because he had to wait almost 12 whole years before he got inducted. This should have never happened. So he had to wait longer than Randy Moss and T.O., and they retired after him. You know, don't get me started how I feel about the T.O., how they treated him, because the way the Hall of Fame should be is what you did on the field. What kind of production did you bring? I don't want to hear that T.O. stands for Team Obliterator. I don't care about that. You know what I care about? Is he scored touchdowns and I ate popcorn at the games because he always made it entertaining. Same thing with Randy Moss. The difference between T.O. and Randy Moss, on record, Randy Moss has said, I play when I want to play. Yes, he plays when he want to play. That rolls to on field. That should go into like, okay, if he played when he wants to play, did he really give us his all? Should he be a first ballot Hall of Famer? He got the stats just like everybody else. But if he really would have played, he probably could have caught Jerry Rice. But he played when he wanted to play. I don't care about contracts or deals. You play football and get paid. Terrell Owens could not get in the first ballot. He had to wait 2 times and they let him in on the 3rd time. That's despicable. That's asinine, 10, and 11 in the words of Stephen A. Smith. That's terrible. He has the number 2 in a lot of categories, if not number 3. And they didn't let him in on the 1st or 2nd ballot. Isaac Bruce had to wait way after T.O. to even get in. So it goes to, if you take the things that they did on the field, Randy Moss was a first ballot Hall of Famer, as he did make it. Terrell Owens is a first ballot Hall of Famer, and Sir Isaac Bruce should have already been in, because in 2009, before they started throwing the football 4 times, before you run a pass before you run a run play, the ball wasn't being thrown as much as it is now, and they had 15,000 yards plus. So in a less throwing era, he wasn't a run and shoot for the Rams, but still, they still had Marshall Faulk, so they still ran the ball. So, and he should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. He should have never had to work this hard to get in. In my opinion, the only reason why Randy Moss got in first ballot with no contest was the fact that he's on a TV network. Because if T.O. didn't make it, Isaac Bruce didn't make first ballot, why should he have got in? But this goes back into the politics, because to be honest, all 3 of them were first ballot Hall of Famers. There's no idea that should Randy Moss have been a first ballot? Yes, he should have, but those 2 should have been too. So, like I said, I feel like this is baloney. This is malarkey. But this did not start with Isaac Bruce with this year. I'm going to go back and I'm going to read something off to you. Now, it was very despicable. I was pissed. I was pretty much pissed, because I'm just like, how is it that I don't care what nobody else did? What he did at that moment, I'm trying to figure out how is it that he didn't make this selection. So we're going to go back to his career. Let's go back to his 2nd year. So his 2nd year, Isaac Bruce had 1,781 yards receiving and 13 touchdowns. He did not receive a Pro Bowl selection for that year. How in God's green earth in football in America, he did not receive a Pro Bowl selection? Now, I think he was like number 3 or 4 that year, because a couple guys had a little bit more yards than him. And it was only like 2 other people that had more touchdowns. Out of all the receivers that go to the Pro Bowl, you didn't choose him? Like I said, this has been going on a long time. And I'm just like, 1,700 yards? 13 touchdowns? Ain't no way. No. Then the following year, he gets a Pro Bowl selection, but he has 1,338 yards and 7 touchdowns. So he has less catches, less touchdowns, and then he finally get a Pro Bowl selection. I think they snubbed him the year before, and they gave it to him the following year just to make up for it. Like I said, he's over his career production-wise. He's been pretty solid. Besides the years, he was a little banged up, and he was getting a little far in on his career, so he wasn't playing every down and every snap. Understandable. Father Time wins. But there's no way that Isaac Bruce should have took this long. What brought it to my attention was that Steve Smith said, I'd be glad when they let Isaac Bruce in, because maybe they'll give me a look and let him get in. Steve Smith, I watched you play a long time. You brought blood, guts, and fight to every single play. In my book, you are a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't care about that ring of honor with the Panthers. You are a first ballot Hall of Famer. You played hard every play, and ain't nobody built like you no more to do the things that you did for the Panthers. So in my book, you have your gold jacket already. But I digress. Let's move on to the next Hall of Famer that did get in. Like the guy, good player, dude could ball. And I went back, and if you could see, it might be a little blurry because the camera's only focused on me. That's Troy Polamalu in the background. I was watching his top 50 plays. I might have to move Troy Polamalu up my list of safeties. Not my top 5 DBs, but my list of safeties. This dude was phenomenal. I forgot about half these plays I even saw him do. I'm just like, oh, wow. Like, he's out there laying on the sideline like he's Ray Carew tiptoeing for interceptions. He's blitzing off the edge, coming downhill on guys. He played cover 2, blasted a guy, knocked the chocolate off of him. Mild-mannered, hard-working, and he deserved it. I don't know if it was first ballot, second ballot, or whatever they made him wait, but I'm glad he's in there. Like I said, I did catch a couple of his videos earlier, and I feel like he's well-deserved. Hats off to you, Troy Polamalu, coming out of the USC, University of Southern California. Got his gold jacket, well-deserved. While still on the subject of football, we're going to talk about a little bit of this preseason. Matter of fact, got a preseason game going on right now. Carolina is playing the Colts. So can I pull up the score real quick? It's still 15-10. Carolina is up. Most of the backups are in right now. I know Carson Wentz is out for the foot injury, so those other 2 guys are battling out for the backup position. However, with Carson Wentz being out, and we know he's normally known to be hurt, I feel like those guys are going to get some real serious playing time this year. So, like I said, I got to see some of the guys, especially some of the young QBs. A lot of times, you see preseason starting out, the first string guys get 1 or 2 series, and then as preseason go along, they get a few more. So, what we're going to talk about first, like I said, I didn't speak highly of this dude, and I feel like he should never been taken as high as he was. But hey, you got drafted. Now it's time to prove us wrong. Trey Lance, I got to see him throw a little bit. I still feel like he drafted too early. But this is the part where we find out, is he legit? Will he back it up? I felt like the other day he showed a spark of what he could be. If they hyping up this highlight train, I ain't with that. I watched the game. He had a couple fumbles. He had a couple late throws. But that is okay because he's a rookie and it's preseason. What I look for is, does he understand what he sees on the field? When they're rotating and they're moving, does he know, hey, that is going to be covered. I need to go to my second decision. So, like I said, I saw some good spark. He played better than I thought he would. Like I said, he's not ready. I don't care what nobody says. He's not ready. Jimmy Garoppolo, I feel like, is still the veteran and should lead them starting to the season. But by week 8, and he's still progressing, and Jimmy messing up, Jimmy going to get pulled. This is my personal opinion. Like I said, young kid, I spoke about you and I said, hey, I didn't want you to be drafted that high. Keep it up. Keep doing your thing. Moving on to Justin Fields. Justin Fields, we're going to find out if he can cut it. And he's going to have to cut out those mistakes. He made that comment, well, it seemed like the game is kind of slower than I thought. I don't really like that comment because you getting base packages and backup defenders. I know you had backup offensive linemen. I really don't care about that. But he's going to have to cut out on the mistakes. He did play well. He was responsible for 2 touchdowns. He had a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown, but he had 2 fumbles and almost threw an interception. Even though this is preseason, this is your time to clean that up. I feel like he showed his athletic ability, and people will have to deal with him. I just need you to keep your eyes down the field and understand what you're looking at. But overall, hats off to you for your first game. I feel like some of those mistakes were from first game jitters. So, keep it up, Justin Fields. Who do we have next? Justin Fields. We had Trey Lance. Oh, Trevor Lawrence. You better tuck that ball, son. Trevor Lawrence, I liked what I saw. I feel like out of all 3 of the quarterbacks I watched, I feel like you understood what you were seeing, but they know that, hey, They can poke that ball out because, if I'm not mistaken, that first snap of his career in preseason, he fumbled. They poked it out. They came around the edge, punched it out. Like I said, outside of that, he was able to throw the ball a little better. He wasn't playing bad. So, like, I'm just being ticky-tacky, but yeah, you can't cough that ball up. That is different between winning and losing. And the fact that it was your very first play in preseason and camp, you got to know, hey, ball security. But other than that, I feel like he played pretty good. But that was just week one. They got a lot more to install. And them defenses are going to look a lot different once they get some tape on you and figure out what you can and can't do. So as for Jimmy G, Andy Dalton, y'all may want to keep your eyes open because these young boys are hungry and they are coming. And I ain't talking about down the years, down the road that they're coming. I'm talking about week 7 and week 8. These guys are going to start. Trey Lance is going to start day 1. But these other two guys, if the competition is close or even, I'm going with a younger guy because he can always got a higher ceiling than the guy on the head, in the league for 14 years. So those two veterans, they better keep that backup away from them when it comes to the competition because if it's close, they're going to go with the younger guy. But as for speaking of a quarterback that looks like they will give the job away, no other than Cam Newton. Cam Newton, Lord have mercy. I watched him play the other night. I ain't watched the highlights. I watched him play. This is your second year in this offense, and you're still making the same mistakes. Late on throws, being inaccurate. Like I said, if he's a little bit more accurate on one of those throws, that's a dime for like a 45-yard gain. But like, this is not just your first time. You've done this majority of your career. You just got away with it because of your athleticism. People ain't letting you get away with that no more. They believe that, hey, you're going to have to beat us to run the ball. And I looked at the rookie play the other day. He didn't play bad. However, his timing and his accuracy looked very well. I know it's against a bunch of backups, but the fact that he had a flow and he's understanding what he's seeing. So, Cam right now is the favorite to start right now. But as if that young boy continues to improve, and if Bill Belichick goes 2-4 starting the season, I think he's going to pull Cam. That's just my worst case scenario. But Cam, stick in there, hold it out. You want to compete, you want to play, you just got to clean these things up. Start off with your feet work. I know that you've been throwing off your back foot majority of your life, but you got to cut that out. But moving on to my Eagles. I was excited. And I gotta lie, I was excited. My Eagles, we lost, but I saw Jalen Hurts look comfortable back there. Man, that scheme we put together looked pretty good. I liked it. We don't have the most physical tight ends out there, but it kept them a little off the ball so they can get a free release. Goddard and Ertz, if they get a free release on any linebacker or safety, you have a problem because they can do a two-way go. They're athletic and they can run. I know Zach Ertz was banged up last year, but I think he still has some in the tank. I don't know if it would be for us, but he still got some in the tank. Saw Jalen Hurts. He looked comfortable. Young receivers, they were competing. Smith, I know he a little banged up. Got the MCL. I want them to hold him out at least to the week 1. Hey, son, I don't need you to take not one snap in the preseason. You just need to compete in practice when you can and hold off into the regular season. That's when it counts. All this other stuff, I feel like he's good enough that he ain't got to play in the preseason. That's my personal opinion. And also, he's already fragile and he drinks some milk. So, hold him off. I feel like with those concepts we have, having him and those other guys that can really run, we could be dangerous. That's my personal opinion. So, if we could be dangerous enough to at least be 9-7 this year, I think we can beat out the Redskins. I think we can beat out the Giants. The Cowboys is going to be a different thing. So, only in due time we'll find out. But as for time, this is mine. I'm Ricky G. Stanley. I'm your host, and I am out of here.